Let's go into sort of Leon with this then. So what were some of those things that were kind of those small bets you were placing, those small trials, which then led to kind of big serendipitous upsides that you weren't expecting, that you could only kind of rationalize retrospectively?
Well, so I mean, there were some huge ones with Leon that were like, some of them might seem obvious. I'll give you two examples. When we started, the question always with Leon, the Leon brand, was we were trying to do what we called internally McDonald's in heaven, fast food in heaven. Like, so we wanted it to be fast food. We wanted it to have a lot of the visual signatures of fast food, but then we wanted to be completely different. So, if you get a fast food system and put good stuff in the one end, can you get good stuff coming out the other end? And there were always debates about where that line was drawn. And initially we had thought that photographs of food, businesses with photographs of food always served bad food. So you didn't want to have photographs like fast food. So we had word menu boards. And
word menu boards. Not like
we had it written. We had it written.
Yeah.
Aioli wrap, chili wrap.
Yeah.
We then decided to trial some photos to see how that, because we got what we called was we had this kind of thing of, we called it the Carnaby Stare, because our first restaurant was in Carnaby Street, and it was some poor customer looking at these words, who'd kind of panic in their eyes as a Leon regular behind them was kind of tapping their watch impatiently for them to make their mind up. And we kind of thought, well, maybe that's not the best mind state for a customer to be in when they're at your restaurant. And so we tried photographs with an amazing photographer, Jason Lowe, who did all of Mark Hicks's photos, and like really brilliant food photographer. So you got this kind of, so we got a really good food photographer to do fast food photos, and immediately overnight it added huge amounts to our sales. So it was something we could have tried earlier. It might seem like an obvious trial, but there were all sorts of other things that we tried.
They all seem obvious retrospectively. That's the point of it. What other ones?
Another one that was a disaster was taking the main box used to be rice and a stew and a topper and some slaw, and we tried to take the slaw out at one point in a way, and it was a disaster. It made the portion, even though it wasn't, look really small and so like we stopped that pretty quickly. Other things that were surprising was we didn't realize when we started that a significant number of people look at the back of the queue and decide whether or not to join it or go to Pret, depending on how long it is. So what does that mean? It means that if you added a till, which we did, we managed to fit in. We had 4 tills at Carnaby Street. We managed to fit in a 5th till, and immediately we thought we were managing the queues pretty quickly. There were, everyone was getting fed within a minute and a half. We used to measure it. We added a till and we increased sales by 25% overnight, because there just were people who were looking at
That's one till. Yeah.
One till, because you went from 4 to 5 tills, sales up by 25%. So, so those kind of things, you can't ever know until you try, and you have hypotheses, but
it's So what would you say from a leadership perspective? The invisibility of nature. I love that again, linking nature to business. I think that's kind of a theme today, but like, I think there's stuff in business, and I've worked for a brand, and I've interviewed tons of founders, and there can be things that happen in an organization. You can't necessarily see it, but it's kind of potentially like cancerous. So, I mean, one example could be like a negative employee or something. You don't necessarily, you can't see it happening, but it is nefarious. And I think a role as your leader is, as you say, is to try and find kind of order within chaos. What would you say is the invisibility of nature parallel in business, do you think?
It's a good question. Well, I mean, I guess what the invisibility of nature is that you are using a a resource that you are assuming is free, and at some point you're going to exhaust that resource and there will be system collapse. So I guess the thing that we a kind of parallel in business for that is the faith and trust of your team, probably.
Sure.
So you can run a team incredibly hard, but we started, when we started doing pulse surveys, so literally measuring, would you
Pulse
recommend
survey. Okay.
every
Yeah.
week, every week,
I mean, okay. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
would you recommend your job to a friend? How are you doing? Like, just measuring that, like the goodwill, the extent to which you were drawing down on the goodwill of your team. That led to some really fundamental changes of how we did things. We noticed that there was basically it was a leading indicator. So it went, team members a bit unhappy, manager leaves, team members leave, sales go down, and then once you've got a restaurant down that stage, it takes a hell of a lot of effort to get it back up to where it was. So, and this was back in 2000. We started in 2004, so it was like the digital stuff. Now I think almost everyone does it, pulse surveys.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
those days, I don't think they did, and that was just recognizing, like, if you think about a system, the other definition of a system, by the way, is you measure it in terms of stocks and flows. So you have
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
you have a stock of, and you can have a stock of anything. You can have a stock of cash. You can have a stock of lamb in your fridge, but you can also have a stock of trust that your customer has in you. You can have a stock of goodwill that your staff will have in you, and anything you do within the system, the feedback loops, will change the way stocks and flows happen. So, for example, if I sell lots of lamb, I get a flow of lamb from me to the customer. There's a flow of money back from the customer to me, and my stock of lamb goes down and my stock of money goes up. But that can also exist for intangibles. So, for example, if I over the Christmas period are taking a lot of money, as well as my stock of lamb going down and needing to be replenished, unnoticed, my stock of goodwill in my team, the cost of some of that money coming in, will be my stock of goodwill in the team going down. And if you don't spot that there's that cost being borne on that money, then you build long-term problems for yourself. And that is the invisibility of nature. The fact that globally we are eroding the stock of nature, which at some point will come back to bite us, because, again, as Partha Dasgupta in his economics of diversity argued, the whole economic system is inside nature, not outside it. It is supported. Nature offers business the energy, the air, the water, the pollination, all the things that business needs to survive. It can't get without nature.
Yeah, it's mad. It's I loved that is just a beautiful phrase. Like, you've got a stock of trust, and I think that's the intangible, that's the invisible thing, and it's like that can erode like that, one thing, and it goes peak tong, and like you're up shit creek without a paddle, quite literally. And I think it's
although generally, to be honest, it's not that it can go like that. It's that you haven't been aware that you've been gradually eroding it, and then some trigger event. So if you have a very high stock of goodwill or trust, the trigger event that ends eroding it is it needs to be much more powerful than if the stock is low. So if you're known to be a scumbag, and everyone thinks you're a bit of a scumbag, and then it comes in the news that you've done something bad, then you can find yourself quite quickly cancelled. Whereas if everyone who's interacted with you over time thinks you've been really great, and something comes out in the media that's bad, people give you the benefit of the doubt. So I think
so gradually, then suddenly, isn't it? Is that, I think, Hemingway?
Exactly. That's Hemingway.
That is Hemingway. Yeah.
That's Hemingway.
Gradually,
So
then suddenly. Yeah,
as
you
become bankrupt.
yeah, bankrupt gradually then suddenly, and probably for me, like how do you get fat? And it'll be like after Christmas, gradually then suddenly. Before I know it, I've had quite a few booze ups, and it's like
Yeah.
back to cutting it all back. Espressos is sponsored by supply chain software gurus Unleashed. It talks to your e-com and accounting software. It's helped Islands cut admin time in half, get granular clarity on your margins, know where your stock is, don't miss availability. Brands like Candy Kittens, Tiny Rebel, and Trip all use Unleashed, and so should you.